So like recording, amplification was a huge revolution in music, and that basically came about with the electric guitar pickup. And I figured out how to make the guitar had been a sort of marginal instrument in a lot of music before that, because you couldn't really hear it, like in a jazz band you couldn't really hear it. It's tough to mic things because you pick up a lot of other ambient sound and like that. And so they invented the guitar pickup, around 1930 I think it was. This little thing here. What I don't understand is why they stopped. Because if you only make things this size, then you can only do things this size. And works great for guitars, and eventually the bass, I think, came along, the Fender in 1950, sometime around then. And so basses and guitars got loud. And we live in a louder world than our ancestors did, and music needs to be louder now. It's and in the old days, the way they did that was they just mashed things. So you had a big band or you had an orchestra. You know, if you wanted to get volume, you just needed more musicians and more of the same instruments playing the same things. But, you know, with recording and microphones, microphones brought small groups up front. You know, we wouldn't have heard really much Charlie Parker without a microphone. And I'm going to put my lighter, there it is. Anyway, I don't understand why they stopped with the pickups when they were this big. I've made pickups a foot or more longer, and all these other instruments get involved besides just guitar and basses. I don't know whether this is just capitalism at work, and guitar manufacturers control the pickup building market and limited it to the instruments that they made. Because you can, there's just all kinds of things, harps and dulcimers and xylophones and kalimbas and anything that wants to be bigger than this, like, just needs bigger pickups. And it takes a lot of physicalities out of playing if you just limit it to things that people do like this. You know, just those things. It keeps everything shrunk and small and focuses it down into that. And there's some people, I have pretty good fingers, you know, I can play music that way. But there's some people that are kind of a little more like that. And other than drums, they just really haven't had any instruments that are in the common bands of our time. So that we ended up getting very limited as to sound, is that the sounds that were available to us to play at volumes that people could receive were just those little finger runs, you know. So music sort of boiled down to, you know, in the 60s and early 70s, it just all sounded like guitars, and then synthetic keyboards came along, and that's about all that you get now is that little group of sounds. You get synthetic sounds and guitar, bass, and that's sort of it. You know, you get a few things you use with microphones, which might be a horn, or horns work well with microphones because the sound is pretty much contained in a small area, so you can get away with that. Voice too, same idea. But to mic up a xylophone, you know, the thing's this big, and so you'd either need a bunch of mics on it, or just one where you'll just get sort of one register all the time, you know. And the more microphones you have, same is true with the piezos, just the more ambient noise you start getting, and you lose that presence, you know, which is, we like that nowadays. We're really accustomed to presence. So, so coming around to it, the reason that pickups are cool is because they can get different kinds of motion and different kinds of sound into the music that just for some reason just got ignored. I don't know why that is. You know, it's hard to wind the long pickups, like the, you know, one that's more than a foot, but I've done it with my primitive way, and it works, you know. Yeah, I just don't really get that lack of thought.